All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual who is set to compete at BKFC KnuckleMania 3, and that all goes down on February 17th. We have Charisa Sigala and Jayme Hinshaw getting out there and testing skills, and great getting to have Jayme on the show for the first time. How's everything going today?
Good. About to go to training here soon, so.
Yeah, I imagine the excitement is pretty high heading into this one here. I guess the first question I had here, because you really had a big BKFC debut in as far as like making history, first atom weight bout. I feel like the obvious question here in this one, because I'm not really seeing the intel on it as much actually, is this upcoming Sigala fight at atom weight or is it a strawweight fight?
Unfortunately, it's not. I'm going up in weight, so it's going to be at 115.
That's kind of interesting wording. Would you almost have preferred an atom weight bout as compared to like a straw weight kind of affair? Like, does atom weight seem like maybe a more ideal, like natural kind of category more so?
I just wanted to kind of put atom weights on the map in BKFC. So, that's the only reason why.
Yeah, I mean, you really like show it proudly in the nickname. I feel like Atom Bomb is a great nickname there, and I mean, you very much kicked it off with like the first ever fight. So, are you confident that there's going to be more atom weight fights to be had, and you can really, be like a big name in an emerging division in that regard?
I hope so. Like I said, if they can't get a 105 division, I'm comfortable moving up in weight at 115. So.
Yeah, well, good to be adaptable. I mean, multiple options in different categories and stuff like that. But, I mean, just in briefly kind of also touching on the last fight, too, because it just felt like such an impactful kind of entry onto the scene, just winning in, a bit less than a minute and 20 seconds. It seemed like you were, like, very comfortable in a new combat sport right from the jump, just really, getting off the scratch line quickly and really having an impressive performance at BKFC 28. Like, what were the main takeaways you had from that fight?
That one was really fun. I wish it would have possibly lasted a little bit longer. Me taking a step back and dapping her up a little bit more and hurting her more, but I got the job done. It was amazing feeling, and I'm excited to go back in there and put on a great performance and feel that feeling again.
Seeing some interviews you did before too, where you were saying it was like almost like a redemption-minded kind of fight because you had lost to Cassie Robb in MMA circa April of 2017. So I would think that would also add to the already existing good feelings too.
Yes. I knew whenever I went into the MMA fight that I was better than her and everything like that. Like, I lost that fight because I gave up on myself in the fight. So, and I didn't take her that serious, like in fight camp or anything like that. And that was a great lesson to be learned in the beginning of my career, because I learned it doesn't matter who your opponent is, no matter what their record is. You gotta respect yourself, the sport, and everything, and train hard. Because honestly, when you're in there, it's against you and yourself. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was a great feeling to be able to get that win back underneath my belt and do it the way I did.
Yeah, for sure. I would, think all those factors would be very gratifying. But you talk about, the learning curve within, combat sports and the journey you've been on so far. I feel like there would also be some big lessons from, like, I guess the recuperation end of things too, just in the context of, I'd noticed it had been a little bit since you last competed prior to that last fight there, like the December 2019 Kana Asakura fight. So, I mean, close to 3 years away from fighting, and really seemed to, help you reset and like kind of heal some old injuries and stuff like that. Can you speak to like what that period of time off did for you, both I guess mentally and physically?
to do a lot of growing. I took a good hiatus off, like, even from the gym. Unfortunately, mine wasn't open, and I just needed to, like you said, rest old injuries, let them heal, let my body just reset, my mind. I had to do a lot of mentally maturing and working on that. So I think it was actually, it sucked not competing. Don't get me wrong, but I think it was good for my mental health. And so, yeah, it was a while, and I wanted to get back as soon as possible, but I had to continue to work consistently and, you know what I mean, be able to give my all whenever I go into that ring, you know what I mean, or that cage, whatever. So I had to work at it for a while, and, you know, BKFC, like, I tagged them. I was just, like, trying to get fights and everything, and was trying to tag a lot of people, and right away they came up to me and they made me an offer, and I was like, hell yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, it really seems like a, you know, great fit in a lot of different ways, and I would think that it's like such a huge benefit for you, just like being out of the, you know, Albuquerque area, just like in the context of being like acclimated to the, you know, high altitude, and this being like your second BKFC fight in New Mexico. Like, how much of a variable do you think that is, just like where your conditioning and familiarity is at with like the landscape for where the fight will be?
I always don't really mind, and it doesn't matter where I fight. But yes, I think I have the advantage because I was born and raised here. You know what I mean? So I'm used to it. I train here all the time, so I think that's gonna be my advantage. I think because she is used to being at 115, 125, she's not gonna be as fast as me. You know what I mean? So I think those are gonna be my advantages. I don't even really know. That's about it. I could say about that.
Yeah, it probably doesn't hurt either, being that it's like a more localized kind of card, like maybe a, you know, strong presence of like, you know, fans, friends, family all coming out to, you know, cheer you on and everything.
Yes, it's that's one great thing about being here at home, is being able to come after the fight, like, and be able to see my husband and my daughter and be able to go home with them. That's actually one great thing.
Yeah, I love to hear that. It seems like, you know, that's like an awesome kind of component there. I mean, just the fact that you get to experience that in back-to-back fights now is cool, but it also seems like there's been like a lot of, you know, consistent work had at like Fit NHB over the years. Is that still like the key space you're training at in the lead up to this one, or how's that all going?
Yes. That's where I started, and that's where I still am at.
Yeah, that must be satisfying though, to see all of this growth and the fact that you're, you know, succeeding in multiple, you know, combat sports. Like I saw you captured the King of the Cage atomweight belt, and even in just your second fight in bare knuckle, it seems like you're, you know, at least poised to, you know, do some pretty, you know, great things even already and everything. So just like, what are your thoughts on this particular, you know, bout opportunity, just in the sense of you're fighting someone who was in that inaugural, you know, strawweight championship fight against Britton Hart and ranked number 5 at strawweight in BKFC and everything like that? Like, what do you think she really brings to the table and everything like that? Like, what does she really do well in the ring from what you've seen?
Well, she has the experience in the ring. We all know that. And she has a lot of heart. I gotta give her that. She always comes forward. So that I think she has going for her, but it's nothing that I haven't seen before, and it's nothing that really intimidates me, so.
Yeah, and as much as we were kind of talking earlier about how, the atom weight growth and kind of growing that division would be something cool for you, I feel like that, strawweight field is pretty open right now, like just an ever-growing, exciting division. Like I was talking to David Feldman the other day, and he was saying Britain Hart versus Jenny Savage Part 2 would likely be the next title fight, and it's kind of trending in that direction. But it seems like some interesting contenders like, Fanny Palumpi and Andy Wynn has a couple victories. Like, have you been kind of checking out the strawweight field a little bit and kind of thinking of it in the sense of, oh, if I string together like, a couple of good strong wins here, I could be potentially fighting for a world title?
That would be a great goal. Well, that's always the goal, is to get, a championship. But I've kind of seen the competition at 115. I've even seen the 125. And I don't know. I think I'll be doing pretty good at 115 if I want to stay there. 105, like I said, it just depends on if there's enough people that are willing and enough fighters that are willing to be at 105. And right now I don't think that there's that much. So 115 is more or less my goal right now. So I'm just kind of more training to be a 115er.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's so many great atomweight fighters around the world. Like, it seems like there's a great mixed martial arts scene for that, like Ryzen and Invicta and everything like that. So, yeah, I think it's just really a matter of time. I feel like the talent is kind of there at this point, and we're seeing that growth in strawweight. So I would think it would be a matter of time with the atomweights there.
Yeah, like I said, the way I train and everything, I've never missed weight. I think I could make 105 and 115 easy. So, yeah, either way, I'm comfortable.
And one thing I thought was kind of interesting, just kind of doing my backgrounding on you, like you were talking about Dustin Rhodes and the Rhodes Wrestling Academy, and just thanking, them for the support over the years. Can you kind of speak to, that connection and the history there? Because I find that interesting. Like, what's the, timeline you have with Dustin Rhodes?
I actually got to meet him at Comic-Con. A couple of Comic-Cons here in Albuquerque and the Duke City Comic-Con. And we just kind of clicked, and like, he's a great person. You know what I mean? Like, inside and outside of the ring. But yeah, we just kind of had a mutual respect for each other, and we started following each other and supporting one another, and he's been a great support in my fight career for a while now. And I just kind of wanted to show my appreciation for all the love and the support and the continued support, because that means the world to me.
I was going to say, you seem to meet a lot of cool people at these different Comic-Cons. I saw you also met Marty Grabstein, the voice of Courage the Cowardly Dog, so you're having a great run at these Comic-Cons, it seems like.
Yes, Jim, he's awesome. He's given me opportunities where I can meet so many people, like different people, not just, celebrities or stuff like that, but just array of different fans, being able to have that exposure, be able to have fun, be able to see just everything and just experience the con. You know what I mean? Because you get to see people that you would normally not even think about fighting, and just coming up to your table and just talking to you, having a great time, and just seeing people come out of their shells. It's just amazing experience. I love doing the cons.
Yeah, I used to be like a radio host, and I would love going to different like Comic-Con kind of events, like station appearance related kind of things. So it was cool to see that in my research on you when I was, getting everything together. But you've been really, great with your time, Jayme. It's been fun getting to talk to you ahead of this big, KnuckleMania 3 fight. But I also want to be mindful of your time and schedule as well. So that being said, is there maybe like a parting final thought you might want to add as we're kind of wrapping up here?
Not really, except for I just want to thank all my sponsors, my teammates, my gym. Let's see, so I don't forget everyone. I want to shout out Monty's Cigar Shop, Rhodes, Wrestling Academy, Damage Control, Jerky by Art, Functional Fury, Lockjaw Wrestling, Joe's Massage, Duke City Comic Con, Maverick Auto Fabrication, Mueller's Mule, and like I said, Fit HB, and all my supporters, my fans, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, some great shout outs there, and should be a great fight on February 17th. And to reiterate, I appreciate you, making some time to talk before the fight. And yeah, looking forward to checking it out when it goes down. But until then, you have a good rest of your day there.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual who's competing at BKFC KnuckleMania 3, which goes down on February the 17th. A very intriguing fight as Jayme Hinshaw and Charisa Sigala get out there to test skills, and happy to be welcoming Charisa onto the show. How's your day going so far?
It's going good. Finished up training in the morning. Now it's all the other road work and stuff is what's coming later.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big opportunity here being on KnuckleMania. I mean, not necessarily something you're a stranger to, obviously, but like I thought to, ask in this sort of context too, like, does this particular KnuckleMania, like the third installment, feel like, demonstrably bigger than the first one? Like, does it feel like there's almost like a greater level of awareness and profile to this one here?
Oh, yes, definitely. You can tell by just the names that are on the card and how many people are showing up. And the fact that it's in Albuquerque, which is a huge fight town with lots of big names in MMA and, many other fight, scene, many other combat sports. So this is going to be huge.
Yeah, but I guess what was that initial experience like? I mean, that must have been like such a whirlwind, like the first KnuckleMania. It's like your first foray into, the space and everything like that. Like, what are your recollections of all of that there? Because it seemed like a big night in a lot of regards there with Taylor Starling.
Well, I had no idea what to expect. Like, it's a completely new sport for me. It was something where I had never experienced what BKFC had as far as, like, production-wise, what they did, in the back end, how they treated their, all of us fighters. So for me, it was like I was going in blind. I didn't know what I was going to expect. I watched some girls' fights, and I was like, oh, it's not going to be that bad. Only the guys get a little crazy. Yeah, I was wrong. It was different than what I had expected, but I loved it. I loved every minute of it, and BKFC is amazing. I love it. It's like, it's getting bigger, it's growing, which is amazing because you can see all the names that are coming to BKFC because of it. But just, just that home feel with all the people on the back end. So it's nice. Like I know Feldman, Senior, Ashok, all of them. I talk to them every time I go out there. I have their numbers. So it's really cool because you don't get that in MMA. So it was an amazing experience. And this time going into it, I know what to expect. This is my sixth fight going in. So I know what I'm doing. I know what it is. I've been through all of the crazy fights. I've been through, what I would say was easier for me, but for my fights, I like to get in there and get dirty. So that's just the style that I have. Nothing's ever easy.
And it seemed like you really had that ripple effect right from the beginning. Even in the binary, the rigid binary of winning and losing, didn't necessarily pan out in that regard. But I feel like both of you got like a big like profile boost from that one almost. Like, did it kind of feel like that to you at the time too? Like, did it kind of feel like you asserted yourself with like an exciting fight in a new sport, even though maybe it didn't go your way short term, I guess?
Yeah, you know what? I feel like it was huge, and I've seen other girls come into it. I've seen people that know longer that haven't had that effect. And I also feel like it just shows like the type of people, because I hear people getting upset because they don't have fights, whatnot. I'm always one that's like, as soon as I get off the squared circle, I'm like, hey, when can I fight next? Like, I'm always asking because I love this. And so for me, it's just one of those things, I think, because they see how much we love it and how much we're ready to go in there and do it. I think that's what's got both the fans and BKFC continuing to call back. So it's just one of those things where you never know with who you're getting, how they're going to be when they get in there. And I was just one of those that just took to it. I love this sport. And I think I came from a jiu-jitsu background when I started MMA. So for me, it was the striking came second. So I was the one always sort of in the dog fights in the gym. So I think I was like bred for this. So I love it.
Yeah, for sure. And this next one is definitely an exciting fight, and I do have questions relevant to that. But I also feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't briefly touch on the seemingly frustrating saga trying to lock in that, Paige Van Zandt fight there. Like, what were your takeaways from that whole thing? Like, what do you think the, I guess, quote-unquote reasoning was for that? Because I tried to talk to David Feldman about it. He didn't really necessarily, I guess, give the clearest answer. Like, initially it seemed like it's like, oh, we'll just move it from this card to this card and adjust it to, like, maybe October more so. But then that obviously didn't come to fruition. Like, what were your main, I guess, takeaways and perceptions from that whole thing, like the pair of Van Zandt cancellations?
I got the same answers. I just feel like either maybe her head's not in it. I know she says she is, but maybe she's not. Because, quite honestly, I was being told that I was still going to get her. I was still going to fight. They announced her for KnuckleMania. She's not fighting again. So in my head, I'm like, maybe she just isn't cut out for this, because not everybody is. Like, it seems way worse than it is, but it's not for everybody. You either love it or you don't. And this is something that I feel like some girls are going to come in and just want to go gung-ho, which you see tons of the girls that are in there right now that are willing and ready to go in. So, I'm not going to waste my time just sitting and continuing to wait for somebody that doesn't want to fight or whatever's going on. Obviously, she has a lot of other things, other obligations that she does. I don't know if she's going back to AEW. She has her own site. She has all this stuff going on. And so maybe she just found that it's not lucrative and maybe her heart's not in it. So I'm just going forward with me because I was ready to go. I only knew because my corner didn't get their itinerary, and I was like, hey, what's going on? And that's when I got the call that was like, hey, so we can't fly you out. I got the same answer as you. They couldn't really give us all the details. They just said because of all the stuff that was happening in London with the strikes, and I don't know, I've heard a lot of different things that we were going to be moved to October. And then I was ready. I was still getting ready for that fight, and that's when I got the call, like, hey, it's probably not going to happen, but we have another fight for you. And that was like, I think it was 5 days notice for the written fight. So that was amazing because it was kind of a fight, but I just wish I had an actual training camp getting ready for her, because she was a completely different opponent, and I knew she was not anywhere near what Paige Van Zandt was going to be. So, in the long run, I'd love, if she's still the title holder, which I'm sure she will be, like, I'd love to get another title run. And that's what I'm working towards, is making sure that I make my statement at this KnuckleMania so that I can continue with that forward momentum.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like that's another example of kind of what I was talking about before, where it's almost like the context of the performance can really inform the perception. Like, I mean, you take a short notice fight against Britain Hart in what is an inaugural title fight, and I think all the context factored in, you had a good account of yourself and still like kind of ranked within that, like, top 5 in the strawweight division. And it seems like such a kind of like wide open field in a certain sense now, like, as much as they are growing the division and you kind of see that on a show to show basis, it also feels like there's a certain sense of like a couple strong statement wins and, you know, you're right back in there. Like, do you kind of get that sort of sense also, and does that excite you? I would think it would have to.
Oh, exactly. Like, that's how I feel. I feel like title's there, and I'm training now with, I train now with Justin Fortune. I haven't put it out there, so first to know. So I'm training now with Justin Fortune, huge. I mean, he's trained so many different people with Freddie Roach. And so I'm like making sure that I'm in that, because my opponents just continue. I just keep getting bigger and bigger opponents, you know, bigger and bigger names. So I needed to make sure I was somewhere where I was going to be trained by somebody who is used to that. And it's been amazing. I'm really, really excited because there's been a lot of progression with this fight camp in the short time that I've been with him. So I'm looking forward to getting out there too and having him in my corner and hearing everything that he tells me and getting that reassurance that I'm doing exactly what we were planning on when we're in the training.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, you say short time, like what exactly does that mean? Like just relative to like this last camp, like maybe the last like couple months, few months, or like what does a short time mean?
January. I started very beginning of this year. Around the same time that I got the call, I didn't know I had to fight. I was just like, okay, because I had trained at Jackson Wink, and we were talking about going there, me and my management for, you know, every fight camp. I was like, it just doesn't make sense, and I just needed something different as far as training, because, you know, some gyms you do outgrow, and I loved every single coach that I've had, but there just comes a point where if it's not working, it's not working for various reasons, and I needed somewhere where I could get that more, I didn't have to have one-on-one, but something that was going to continue to make me grow, and he's had so many champions that he's worked with and had so many big names that he's worked with, so I know I'm in the right spot.
Yeah, well, great to hear that's such an awesome fit, but also I think even the previous Jackson Wink experience too could create some residual benefit heading into... Oh, sorry, what was that? Kind of...
Keep going. They're just far. So it's, Jackson Wink is amazing. I'm actually going back there this weekend, because I need that time for that elevation. So I love Jackson Wink, and there's nothing wrong with them. It's just they're far. 10-hour drive. So, you know, monetary-wise, I mean, I'm making good money with BKFC, but it's just not enough to continue to go back and forth, because home's out here in California, my kids, I don't want to take them out of school. They're in high school. It's just, for me right now, I couldn't move.
Yeah, for sure, very relevant factors, and just also even trying to eliminate a bit of overhead too. But what I was kind of thinking was like you would be, you know, acclimated to that high altitude from previous efforts, but good to hear that you're also like going a touch early to this fight to kind of get back in there. But I would think that some of the camps you've already had there before would be a huge variable in this fight. Not that your opponent is not familiar with the area too, but I would feel like that would be such a big thing coming into, you know, a situation like this.
Oh, yeah, it's huge. You know, the last camp I had was a really, really good camp. I get along with everybody there. I loved everybody that I worked with there. So I'm really excited to get back. Sad to be leaving where I'm at right now, but he's coming out. So it's just obviously he has his gym to run, so he can't come out with me so soon. He has some people coming in from Australia that he's going to be training, but he's coming out for my fight. So, you know, for me, Jackson Wink is to make a huge difference with that elevation, because it does. It's a huge factor. It took me like over a week to get adjusted to that elevation as far as cardio wise, because you get a huge dump when you're like in that first minute.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine. I'm curious, though, like, is Michelle Watterson going to be cornering you for this one again, or was that last one maybe more just because of the short notice timeline we mentioned?
So it was supposed to be Arlene, but Arlene had to go back. So Michelle went ahead and said she would help me out with that corner. But she's going to be out of town. So she's not. I know Justin Fortune is for sure. I'm not sure who the second person is going to be at.
So is that new space you're working in a little closer to like the Rancho Cucamonga kind of area? Because I see in a lot of your bios that's like where you're from.
So I'm like, so on a good day it's an hour. If I have to go early in the morning, it's 2 hours. But It's, to me, training is like a good tattoo. You'll drive. Like, I don't care. I'll drive to go train with the right people. It's my livelihood, so, it's one of those things you have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, I mean, whenever I see Rancho Cucamonga, I mean, you were talking about Paige Van Zant's AEW work before. I always think about the Young Bucks, like they're from there and stuff like that. Maybe we can get you in AEW at some point too. Maybe you roll it with the Young Bucks, like a Cucamonga collective.
Like, that would be fun. I'd love to do any of that. Yeah, because they come out to the Toyota Arena over here.
Yeah, I feel like I saw you had a post a bit ago, like rocking the people's eyebrow too. So maybe there was a certain level of wrestling fandom, perhaps.
Oh yeah, I know. Funny thing, I used to always drive. I guess I drove like that a lot because my friends would be like, "Why are you driving like The Rock?" And I was like, "I don't know." It's just something that I guess I naturally always had that eyebrow up. So why not? Oh, I'll coin it something else.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love punctuating things with a good eyebrow raise. Always a solid way to express oneself. But got to be talking about this next fight here. Like, I'm curious if you've, gotten to see, I guess, much of your opponent. Like, I mean, she admittedly didn't really get much time in the ring underneath her. Like, a pretty quick finish, like a sub 2 minute, like first round KO there and everything like that. Like, what were the, I guess, thoughts on her, like, BKFC debut and everything like that?
Well, even though she didn't get that long, you can still see a lot about somebody for what she did. So I mean, there was a good feel for her, and then yes, I've seen her other videos. But she was going against an opponent who didn't really fight back, so there's going to be a huge difference. That's where the biggest difference is, because I'm not one that just shells up. So, so it's going to be a completely different fight, which I think this is going to be a really exciting one for Albuquerque and all the fight fans out there. Everybody who's going to watch, they know what I put out. They know the type of fights that I get. And I know she has plenty of footage on me because I mean, this isn't my first go around. So, she has a little bit more, and I think for me that's what works in my benefit because of how much time that I have in that ring. Because even though she, had a really short time in there, she also gassed out pretty quick. So, being that she's from New Mexico, that's actually surprising.
Well, it's an interesting perspective. Like, you kind of noticed, like diminishing cardio even within that, like, relatively succinct kind of performance. I would think that would give you confidence heading into the fight.
Oh, yes, definitely. That's the one thing that I've always been told is I have really good cardio. And then even, when I was out there the first time, they said, a lot of them were saying how it usually takes longer to get acclimated than what I did. So I feel pretty confident about this fight. I know what she's going to bring to the table. I know what kind of punches she throws. I know what she does when she's in there. And I know that there's a little bit of a difference because her and Cassie had that little, I don't know, they had something going in there when they went in. So, they had a little bit of animosity that looked like it stayed. So, maybe she was a little bit different because she already had that personal thing going on there. But, everybody pretty much don't really change very much. So we'll see what she actually throws out there when we get there. But I'm ready for everything. I've been in there with a whole bunch of different types of people. I've been with the Starlings that are very much pressure fighters. I've been with people that have that good ring IQ and know their reach. For me, I'm the taller fighter. She's going up in weight. 115 is my natural weight. She was an atom weight going to 115. She's shorter than me. So for me, I feel like there's a lot of pluses in my favor in this fight. So I'm really excited. But you never know. Some people just surprise you.
Yeah, and a couple of the things you bring up definitely make sense. Like, I felt like when I interviewed her a couple of days ago, she was almost bummed out that it wasn't going to be like another atomweight fight too. Not that she's averse to it being at strawweight, but maybe that would be like a bit more of a natural category. And she also did seem surprised also about her debut as well, and as far as like how little resistance she felt. But the sense I got from her was like she's very much thinking there will be that big resistance from this fight here and everything. So it seems like both of you are readying for like a pretty like action heavy kind of fight. Like, it would seem like a fight of the night kind of idea is in both of your mentalities, it would seem.
Yeah, I I feel like the types of fighter that you have in her and in myself, it could be another one of those barn burners that I tend to always be in, because that's just the type of fighter I am. I'm one of those that don't care about getting dirty.
Yeah, and I'm curious, like, are you... No, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, when I had seen her, I figured that, she knows that this is going to be a different ball game. And, we still, when I fought Taylor at KnuckleMania, we sold the show, and we weren't the only females. I think this time around, I thought there was going to be another girls matchup on the card, but I haven't seen one yet. So right now we're the only females. So, females tend to steal the show regardless, because a lot of people love to watch us fight because of the types of fights that we bring. It's a little bit, it's always a little bit dirtier, a lot more bloody than most of the guys, for the most part.
Yeah, I guess to that point, like, is there even fights on this card that you're kind of, like, looking at in a peripheral way, like, almost like when your fight's done, you can focus on the other ones in, like, a fandom kind of way, almost, like, in being able to just appreciate exciting fights? Like, I mean, you have someone in Christine Faria, who's, like, the #1 pound-for-pound fighter among the women, and she's getting ready to fight a pretty decorated individual, Usana Korum, to wheel Sawon Wong. Is that a fight that you're kind of...
I looked a couple days ago, and I hadn't seen her on there, so I was like, man, is she fighting or not? Because I hadn't seen it. And so I was wondering if they were going to put her on there, or if her fight fell through.
Yeah, well, it is kind of odd because, like, they announced it at the presser, but I haven't really seen anything, like, on the official site or a lot of the other, like, aggregators out there, like Tapology and stuff like that. But it is a locked-in fight, but for some reason not recorded by a lot of those things for some reason. But that seems like a fun one.
Even mine and Jamie's, like, they announced it by just showing her video. We didn't get a photo. They usually have, like, the matchup. I haven't even got a matchup yet. I was waiting to post forever. I was like, oh, okay, guess we're just not doing that. But I'm really excited about, seeing Diego Sanchez fight Austin Trout. That's going to be a good one. The Dotson versus Kid Gotti. That's going to be another really good one. And then the main event, Rich Bennett and Hunt have a lot of beef and animosity there. So that'll be another good one just because of the way it is from the outside. So that'll be fun watching. So I'm glad that we're not late in the card and not super early, because it's like, I do want to watch the ones in the beginning, and I don't know if this one's going to have the TV in the back where we can usually see, because they always do, but I'm going to be glad to actually be out there with the fans for some of those bigger ones towards the end. So that's the one nice thing.
Yeah, no, it seems like you're positioned well on the card in that kind of sense, and I would think it would also be cool getting ready to kick off the year so early, like, just in the sense of could facilitate having, like, a strong strength of schedule. Like, is there a certain amount of, like, overall fights you would like to take this year? Like, is there a particular number in mind, maybe?
I always try to get 3 or 4 fights. Last year, it was supposed to be 3, got 2, which was fine with me. Like, I'm okay. 2 to 4 fights. I prefer staying active, which is one of the reasons why I'm like, I have to have a good gym out here, because I live in the gym. When I did MMA, I was always at the gym. I only ever took maybe a couple weeks off after my fights, and then maybe when everybody was gone during the holidays, obviously you wouldn't have as many training partners, so you wouldn't train as much. So I like staying active because I always, get ready for these fights, and I always train and continue to get better. So I'd love to see 2 to 4 fights.
Yeah, well, I think anyone who's a fan of BKFC would also like to see that too. Like, as we've talked about, I feel like you have a good track record for action fights, so I think multiple Charisa Sigala fights this year sounds A-okay by me, but you've been pretty good with your time and everything. I appreciate you coming on the show. I don't want to, take up your whole day here, so, in the interest of being
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's good getting to have you on and get some insights. I guess I'm curious if there's maybe any kind of parting thought you might want to add as we're wrapping up, though, Charisa.
Yeah, and you sort of touched on it. Like, for me, I'm like, KnuckleMania 3 is like a way to start the year off with bang. We're not the first card of the year, but, for me, this is the real beginning of BKFC's events, because it's supposed to be the biggest one. So for me, it's how I'm going to start this year off with a bang.
Yeah, very much looking forward to seeing that on February 17th. Should be an exciting fight with Jayme Hinshaw. And yeah, again, to reiterate, I appreciate you coming on the show and giving great insights, and looking forward to peeping the fight when it goes down. But until then, you have a good rest of your day there.
Thank you, you too.